6:12 a.m. Your alarm goes off on the first vibration, not the second, not the third. You don't let it get that far. You sit up before your brain can negotiate. The room is quiet. The sheets are clean. Nothing here looks expensive. And that's the first tell. You can afford noise. You choose silence. 6:14 a.m. You don't check social media. You check a number. Not because you're obsessed. Because you're responsible for it. The brokerage app opens. No fireworks. No confetti. Just a line of text. Dividend received. $187.43. It's not a flex. It's a heartbeat. It's proof the machine is still running. You don't smile. You don't screenshot it. You lock the phone and stand up, because the point of quiet money is that it doesn't need witnesses. 6:18 a.m. You make coffee. Not artisanal. Not imported. Just coffee. A scoop. Water. Heat. The mug is plain. No branding. No quote. You drink it standing up, looking out a window at a neighborhood that also doesn't flex. Grass. Driveways. Closed garages. Most of your neighbors have nicer cars than you, and you like it that way. When your life looks normal, your problems stay normal. 6:26 a.m. You open a drawer. Inside are documents people think only rich people have. Not jewelry, not cash. Paper. Insurance policies. A binder labeled taxes. A second binder labeled estate. You don't keep them for drama. You keep them because you learned the expensive way that chaos charges interest. You glance at a sticky note. Umbrella policy renewal. Friday. You nod once and close the drawer. This is what wealth looks like at this level. Admin. 6:41 a.m. You step outside. You don't step into a German badge. You step into a 10-year-old sedan. Clean. Maintained. Invisible. It starts on the first turn. You drive like someone who isn't trying to be seen, because people who need to be seen are still negotiating with the world. You're not negotiating. You're opting in. 6:58 a.m. The gym is empty. Not because it's private, because it's early. You picked a time that costs nothing but discipline. The man in the mirror looks like a regular person. T-shirt. Sweatpants. Plain shoes. No watch screaming a salary. You do your workout without filming it, because the moment you need proof, you've already lost the point. A quiet millionaire doesn't buy motivation. He buys consistency. 7:34 a.m. In the locker room, someone talks loudly about a new car. Monthly payment. Interest rate. Horsepower. He's performing stability. You don't correct him. You don't compete. You towel off and leave. There's a rule you learned years ago. The loudest spender in the room is usually the person most owned by their expenses. You don't judge him. You just hear the chains. 7:58 a.m. You stop at a grocery store, not a boutique market. A normal one. You buy eggs, oats, chicken, vegetables. It's boring on purpose. Boring is scalable. Boring is repeatable. Boring is how you got here. At the checkout, the total is $43.19. You don't flinch. Not because it's small, because you don't calculate life in single purchases anymore. You calculate it in habits. 8:16 a.m. You get home. You don't live in a mansion. You live in a house that makes sense. A house you could pay off if you had to. That's the second tell. Rich people with real control don't maximize the monthly payment. They minimize the hostage situation. You eat breakfast. You clean the pan. You put the dishes away. No hired help. Not because you can't afford it, because you don't outsource dignity. You outsource friction. There's a difference. 8:47 a.m. Your calendar notification pops up. 9:30 CPA call. You don't do your own taxes anymore. Not because you're lazy, because once you have assets, mistakes become lawsuits. The middle class learns budgeting. The wealthy learn structure. This is the part nobody posts. Nobody uploads a day-in-the-life clip of a tax planning call, because it's not sexy. It's just what keeps the ceiling from collapsing. 9:11 a.m. You leave for work. Yes, work. Quiet millionaires still work. Most of them, not because they need it, because they like the identity it gives them, or because it keeps their brain sharp, or because they're building something that makes the million irrelevant. If you have $1 million and no purpose, you'll spend your way back to needing a paycheck. You've seen it. So you keep a schedule. Not for money, for stability. 9:29 a.m. You arrive early. You park far, not out of virtue, out of habit, out of staying small in public. The building looks like every other building. Glass, concrete, neutral signage. Inside, people talk about promotions like, promotions are the finish line. You smile politely. Promotions are fine, but you know the secret. A promotion is still permission. Ownership is not. 9:30 a.m. The CPA call begins. The conversation isn't, how much did you make? It's, how is it structured? You talk about pre-tax contributions, capital gains, a donor-advised fund, quarterly estimates. It's dry language, but dry language is what keeps you rich. Your CPA asks if you want to harvest losses from a position that's down. You say yes, not because you're panicking, because you're optimizing. The market is noise. Your plan is not. 9:52 a.m. The call ends. You didn't earn money in that meeting. You protected it. Protection is an income stream people never count. But it's real. A mistake avoided is a return. A lawsuit prevented is a return. A tax bill reduced is a return. Quiet wealth isn't just growth. It's defense. 10:07 a.m. A co-worker walks by your desk and asks what you did this weekend. You say, nothing much. It's true. You cooked. You walked. You slept. You read. You rebalanced. In your old life, nothing much meant you couldn't afford excitement. In your new life, nothing much means you don't need it. You watch their face search for the hidden luxury. There isn't one. And that makes people uncomfortable. Because they want a formula. They want a visible signal that explains your calm. You don't give them one. 11:22 a.m. Your phone rings. Unknown number. You answer anyway. Hi. This is your relationship manager. You don't feel special. You feel categorized. At this balance, you get humans instead of menus. Your banker tells you there's a new savings product. Higher yield. Minimums. Rates. You listen. You decline politely. You don't chase yield with your emergency fund. You chase stability. The banker laughs softly, like he respects the decision. And that's the third tell. Once you have money, you're sold fewer dreams. You're sold fewer miracles. You're sold instruments. 11:47 a.m. Lunch. You don't go to the trendy place, not because you're frugal, because you hate lines. You eat at a place that is fast, clean, and quiet. You pay with a credit card you never carry a balance on. Points. Fraud protection. A clean ledger. The server brings your food. You tip normally, not excessively, not performatively, just normal. You're not trying to buy love. You're trying to keep the world predictable. 12:09 p.m. A notification appears. Mortgage payment posted. Most people would celebrate paying off their mortgage early. You don't. You don't rush it. Your rate is low. Your money can earn more elsewhere. You don't hate debt. You hate bad debt. You hate forced debt. You hate debt that controls your mornings. This debt doesn't control you. It's a tool. Quiet millionaires don't have opinions. They have math. 12:33 p.m. You walk back to the office. A guy outside is taking photos next to a rented car. He's doing it for attention. He needs the attention, because attention is how he proves something is real. You remember being like that. Not with a rented car, with smaller signals, new shoes, a nicer phone, a dinner you couldn't really afford. It wasn't vanity. It was fear. Fear that you'd go back. You don't hate him for it. You just recognize the stage. 12:58 p.m. You have a meeting. People argue about budgets like the budget is the enemy. You say little. You ask two questions that matter. What's the downside? What's the timeline? Everyone else is thinking in weeks. You're thinking in years. Time horizon is the quiet flex. The poorest person in the room lives in days. The richest person in the room lives in decades. 1:41 p.m. Your phone buzzes. A delivery notification. It's not a designer bag. It's not a new watch. It's something boring again. A replacement water filter. A pack of batteries. You automate small purchases because you refuse to spend mental energy on them. This is the part people misunderstand. Quiet wealth isn't about buying expensive things. It's about buying back attention. The goal isn't luxury. The goal is less decision fatigue. 2:16 p.m. Someone asks why you still drive that car. They try to make it a joke. You smile. You say, "It runs." They laugh. But you can feel the subtext. They want permission. They want you to validate their spending. They want you to say, "Yes, you deserve the upgrade." You don't, because you know upgrades are often just disguised anxiety. Anxiety that you're not enough without the signal. You won't participate. 3:04 p.m. An email comes in. Subject, invitation. It's for a dinner. Small group. Private room. Guest speaker. The ticket price is high enough to filter out the curious. You don't go for the speaker. You go for the room. Because rooms are where quiet wealth actually lives. Not on timelines. Not on feeds. In rooms with no cameras. You RSVP, maybe. Not because you need it. Because you're always positioning. Quietly. 4:22 p.m. You leave work at a normal time. No heroic overtime. No martyr narrative. You don't need to be seen suffering. Suffering is not a status symbol to you anymore. At the red light, you watch a guy in a new truck slam the gas like the sound makes him bigger. You sit still, hands on the wheel. No rush. The luxury you bought is not horsepower. It's a nervous system that isn't on fire. 5:01 p.m. You pick up dinner. Not expensive. Just convenient. You could cook. You often do. But tonight, you're tired. You pay for convenience when it protects your time. This is how you decide what to outsource. If it buys you hours, it's worth considering. If it buys you applause, it's not. 5:26 p.m. At home, you change into the same plain shirt you always wear. No logos. No brand language. You don't want to become a walking billboard for someone else's business. You sit down at a small desk. You open your banking app. You move money. Bills. Investments. A transfer to a sinking fund labeled health. Most people don't have a fund labeled health. They have hope. You have a line item. That's the difference between being comfortable and being insulated. 6:03 p.m. Your phone rings again. This time it's a family member. They need help. Not emergency help. Lifestyle help. A loan. A bridge. You listen. You say, "I can't." You don't justify it with a speech. You don't mention your net worth. You don't explain compound interest. You just say no, because the real reason rich people go quiet is boundaries. Visibility attracts requests. Requests erode boundaries. Boundaries protect the machine. You keep your machine. 6:41 p.m. You go for a walk. The neighborhood is quiet. The homes look similar. No gates. No fountains. That's intentional. If you wanted a display, you'd live somewhere else. You chose a place that doesn't ask you to perform. A place where the richest man and the middle manager wear the same hoodie to take out the trash. A place where nobody needs to win out loud. 7:18 p.m. Back home, you open your laptop. You don't stare at your portfolio like a gambler. You check it like a pilot checks instruments. Calm. Routine. No drama. Your allocations are boring. Index funds. Some bonds. A little cash. Maybe a small percentage in something riskier. Nothing that would impress a stranger. Everything that would survive a recession. The secret of quiet millionaires is that they're not chasing the biggest return. They're chasing the most survivable return. 7:41 p.m. You get an email from your bank. A fee was charged. $25. Most people would ignore it. You don't. You reply with one sentence. Please reverse this. An hour later, it's gone. No hold music. No script. That's what your money buys. Not better morals, better service. You remember the version of you that would have eaten a fee because fighting it cost time you couldn't spare. You don't feel proud of the reversal. You feel aware of the system. The system didn't become kinder. You became profitable. 8-9 p.m. You watch a video online. Someone is teaching how to look rich. They recommend watches, shoes, a car, a vacation. You close it because you know a darker truth. Looking rich is expensive. Being rich is mostly invisible. Looking rich buys you attention. Being rich buys you exits. Exits matter more. 8:44 p.m. You set up tomorrow. Gym clothes folded. Keys on the hook. Lunch planned. You're not romantic about discipline. You don't call it grind. You call it normal. That's the fourth tell. Quiet millionaires don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. Because motivation is a mood. Systems are infrastructure. 9:12 p.m. You check one more thing. Not your balance, your risk, insurance coverage, beneficiaries, automatic payments, passwords, two-factor authentication. You think like a person who has something to protect. Because